Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for a poetry discussion that will take place in at least two separate playlists here on the channel. The first, obviously, being the poetry discussion playlist, but the second being the April 2021 National Poetry Month discussion playlist. In April, I am doing a poetry discussion every day of the month. Mondays are for Langston Hughes, Tuesdays are for Sylvia Plath, Wednesdays are for Charles Bukowski, Thursdays are for Emily Dickinson, Fridays are again for Bukowski, and Saturdays are for Robert Frost, with Sundays proving a bit of a mix-it-up day, just different poems there throughout the month. No set poet for Sundays is what I mean to say, but I am refusing to do so. I'm a bit distraught at the moment. I'm a bit overworked at the moment. But today's poem, obviously, being a Thursday, is from Emily Dickinson. Poem 670 on page 333 of the complete works, the complete poems of Emily Dickinson. The first line by which this poem is known is, "One need not be a chamber to be haunted." And it reads as such: "One need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. The brain has corridors surpassing material place. Far safer of a midnight meeting external ghost than its interior confronting that cooler host. Far safer through an abbey gallop, the stones a chase, than unarmed one's a self-encounter in a lonesome place. Ourself behind ourself concealed should startle most. Assassin hid in our apartment be horror's least. The body borrows a revolver, he bolts the door, overlooking a superior specter or more. Overlooking a superior specter or more." For me, I think that one of the keys to this poem being effective in its message, that, hey, we've got to be more afraid of ourselves, we've got to be more afraid of those things lurking inside than outside, is the realization. This is the one that got me. Where is it here? What am I looking at? Far safer of a midnight meeting external ghost than its interior confronting the cooler host. And then ourself behind ourself concealed should startle most. Assassin hid in our apartment be horror's least. So everyone has different strengths, different weaknesses, different fears, different things with which they are confident. That is to be said, things of which they are not fearful. And what this means is, if someone else is attacking you, they might be attacking your strength, but you alone against yourself, you will always pinpoint the thing about which you are least confident. So one need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. The brain has corridors surpassing material place. We obviously know what this poem is about: haunting the self, or the things inside being more dangerous to us than the things outside. But it's only insofar as the individual is willing to act against oneself, and the degree to which one is willing to act against oneself. After all, the body borrows a revolver, he bolts the door, overlooking a superior specter or more. Were there someone hiding in your apartment, as the previous stanza implies, you still might win that battle. But when you battle yourself, you are guaranteed to lose. Because if you're battling yourself, even the battler, even the violent one, well, that's you too. So if you do win, you also lose. But what we're saying here is that, okay, YouTube doesn't like this type of speech, but someone trying to shoot you, there's a much lower percentage chance that they're fatal than if you do the job yourself, right? That is a degree of what is being discussed here. And I think that what really, the part I like most about it, oftentimes with Emily Dickinson, I've said it before this month, I'll say it 1,000 times with Emily Dickinson. Oftentimes her poems start off really strong and sort of peter out along the way. This poem starts out really strong with this image. One need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. The brain has corridors surpassing material place. That is a unique conceptualization, I think, of what it means to be haunted. Oftentimes, you can hear the phrase haunted individual, but never actually visualize those specters floating around in somebody's head. This opening stanza forces you to do that. And because it forces you to do that, it forces you to visualize that ghost haunting. It forces you to put a sort of image to what it means to be haunted, and then translate that into what it means to be a haunted person. It forces visualization of a ghost or specter and puts it someplace. Herein, within this poem, it puts it in the place of the individual, floating around inside you, bumping around in your head. Because it does that, the rest of the poem is so much more effective, because it sort of does. So there's this part in where are you going, where have you been? Oh golly, where are you going, where have you been? By, it's a short story by, oh, what is her name? She publishes 1,000 things a year. Anyway, you hold on. I can't find my book. I've got a book of her writing. Where are you going? Where have you been? There's this really creepy guy that's been sort of semi-stalking, but not for very long, this girl, Joyce Carol Oates. That's from Joyce Carol Oates, I think. Anyway, in the short story, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been?, there's this guy, Arnold Friend, who has been stalking this girl. And she's never really been close to him. But he shows up at her house when her parents and brother have left. And the really creepy thing that Joyce Carol Oates pulls off in this short story is she shows you Arnold Friend from a distance. And then Arnold Friend gets a little closer. And there's something a little unsettling about the way he looks. And we're still picturing Arnold Friend because it's a one-to-one dialogue here with our protagonist. And then he gets a little bit closer, and guess what? Arnold Friend has wrinkles around his eyes. So despite the fact that he's this sort of out there young acting person, he's a whole lot older than we think he is. So what it's doing is it's showing us the same thing, place and place again. And each time we see it, we visualize it a little more unsettlingly. And because of that, we are haunted by the thing because we are forced to reconceptualize what we had already known about it. Because we're forced to reconceptualize what we had already known about it, it has a haunting effect versus a scary effect, because it's something we had previously known and we're realizing it's something different. This poem has a similar effect in that what we're doing is we're introducing the idea of haunting. It gives us the idea of ghosts. Things that bump around, right? Specters, haunting, ghosts. Forces us inside the protagonist, the self, far safer of a midnight meeting, external ghost than its interior confronting that cooler host. So it introduces the idea of you, the brain has corridors. Okay, Then we reconceptualize that cooler host. Well, I hadn't thought of my brain as particularly a cooler host, as particularly cold in that way, in that disconnected fashion. But now that I'm thinking about it that way, sure, yeah, I guess I am sort of a cold bastard. Far safer through an abbey gallop than the stones a chase, than unarmed one's a self-encounter in a lonesome place. Again, redefining this place to being infinite corridors, okay, cooler host a little bit further back, and then lonesome place. Oh, well, I guess I do have I do have thoughts pretty nasty to myself when I'm lonesome. Ourself behind ourself, concealed, should startle most. Assassin hid in our apartment, be horror's least. Now, simply mentioning the assassin part redefines the self again, not by definition, but by correlation. Associating the self in this personal way, this intimate way, with an assassin, it forces us to visualize the assassin. The body borrows a revolver. Oh, wow. Well, now I gotta think about a gun, huh? Well, what does an individual do with a gun against oneself? That's unsettling. So that is all I have for this poetry discussion, basically. How Emily Dickinson uses a horror building technique in this poem. But again, I have new videos on this channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at least, but this month every day, and Mondays at least are for poetry, but this month every day. So I hope to see you for the next one, but also I have new videos on my personal channel every once in a while, a link to which can be found in the description below.